Today I am going to tell you about an online assessment tool called Kahoot. Kahoot is an interactive quiz game. Besides being extremely fun for the students, it's also a very useful tool for teachers because it collects data and even allows the students to share their feedback on the topic or the game after they're done. Today, instead of just telling you about Kahoot or writing a paper, I'm actually going to show you a little demonstration of a Kahoot game that my class did today. My class is a second grade classroom, and we are currently learning about money and time, so that is what our Kahoot is based on. Afterwards, I will also describe how you can use the data you get to guide your instruction in the future. So here we go. One of the best things about Kahoot is that there are a lot of pre-made quizzes already there for you. And today's quiz actually was already made by another teacher, and I just used it. So the screen you are seeing now is the choice between having the students on a one-to-one device or sharing a device. And I'm lucky enough to be at a school with a Chromebook for each student, so I chose one-to-one devices. So then each student would log on with the code you see here. Once they're logging on, they can choose to put their real name or nickname, and I had them use fun nicknames today since I knew I'd be posting this. But as they type in the code, they can choose their nickname and press enter. And I can see from my teacher computer how many players are ready. And once they're all on, I can press the start button to get the quiz going. So it usually takes a little bit because they like to pick fun nicknames. Um, but once they're all on, as you can see, I just pressed start. So it gives them a minute to get ready. And then the first question comes up. What I like about Kahoot is the question is up there for a few seconds before they can answer to make sure they can read it. Then as you can see, there are 4 answers here, and they're all color-coded. And that's actually how the students answer, so it's great for younger students. For example, if they look at the screen and know it's the blue answer, they just look at the student screen and click the blue square. So it's very kid-friendly, which I love being a second grade teacher. Another great thing about Kahoot is that they are completely editable. Even the ones you find pre-made, you are able to change the questions, change the time limit, all of those things. So you can see on this question, it had 50 seconds instead of 30 because it is a harder question and they needed more time. Another great thing about Kahoot that I haven't mentioned yet is it's very competitive and the kids love it. So in a minute here, you'll see the correct answer come up. And what you don't hear is all the kids cheering who got it right. But it also shows a leaderboard. Right here, they can see the top 5. And it compliments them down on the bottom for students who maybe got 3 in a row or who's on a streak. So it's not just the first place that gets to feel proud of themselves. So again, this looks very similar to the last few problems you saw, but it just continues for however many questions you have. On the right side, I can see how many students have responded, so I know kind of where we're at. If the time runs out, they do get the question wrong because they lost the time limit, but usually that doesn't happen. Now I wanted to take a minute to show you what the student sees. So I'm actually using one of my students' Chromebooks right now, and you can see the question is loading. Now, they don't see the words or the question, they just see the colors. So they have to look up at my projected screen to see the options. And then, like I mentioned before, they just choose the color that they think is correct. So here I chose blue, and now it's waiting for the question to be over. And then as soon as it is, it will tell them right away if they were correct. So here you can see she was correct. At the end of the game, they find out who wins, and they can also take a survey to tell me if they liked the game or not. So now let's get into the assessment piece. This is where I will talk about how we can use the data results from Kahoot to help guide instruction. So before I show a few graphics of the results, I want to go over a little bit what I'm going to talk about. So Kahoot has a feature where you can actually download into an Excel spreadsheet your information. So they have a summary, you can look at each student, you can look at each question, and you can look at an overall summary of all the questions. So this is helpful to know which questions they did well on and which questions they might need a little reteaching on. And right there is how it can guide the instruction. So coming up first will be an overview of the whole game. So here you can see the total percentage of correct answers and the percentage of incorrect answers. So that will give you an idea, as a whole, how did they understand time and money. But then you can also look at each student. So here it shows the top 10 students, how many they got correct and how many they got incorrect. This right here is how you can differentiate, because you can see whoever's at the bottom might need a little bit extra work. But you can look even further by topic. So right here I can see that question 7 had only about 13% get it right. So I definitely need to go back to these type of word problems and reteach a little bit. But the next one you're going to see, question 11, which was just asking what type of clock, 88.89% did get it correct. So that shows me that overall this is a concept they're understanding, and I probably don't need to go do another lesson about it. Next, I'm going to tell you about another online tool called Quizziz. Quizziz is very similar to Kahoot with a few differences, and personally, I like Quizziz better. It is less competitive, which actually leads to the students taking it more seriously, which in the end leads to better assessment data. So I'll get into that as I go over a sample quiz, just like I did for Kahoot. In this one, however, I will just be taking the quiz by myself. So here's the main page that the teacher sees. And just like Kahoot, they have a whole library full of quizzes you can use. So I actually took a quiz that someone else made. But they have a feature called duplicate, which actually allows you to make a copy of the quiz and put it in your own file so that you can edit it, make changes, change the time limits, anything. So I actually went ahead and made a duplicate of this quiz and edited it, and then I actually assigned it. So right now I'm clicking on my new version, and I chose to assign it as homework, which is a huge difference from Kahoot. So this way the students can do it at home, they could do it during a seminar, they can do it more independently. And you can see right here, another great option if you have Google Classroom is you can automatically assign the quiz through Google Classroom. So now I am on the student page and I just entered the code. So as soon as I enter the code, the questions will start coming up. So what I love about this is each student can see the answers right on their page instead of looking up at my main screen. And this is how they are able to do it more independently. So they get the question, the options are color coded, but they can still read the answers. And a little fun extra thing is if they get it correct, a funny meme pops up. And then also you'll see in a minute I get one wrong on purpose, and if they get it wrong, another funny meme pops up, but it does show them the correct answer so they can learn from that. And I didn't go through the whole quiz, but basically it's the same. They can really take their time, think about their answers, they don't feel rushed, and it leads to much more realistic and true assessment results. So that's actually what I'm going to talk about next is the assessment data. So I said earlier that I think Quizziz is more user-friendly with its data, and I think it's partially because you don't have to download it to Excel. You can actually see it all right on the website, and it has a really good graphic to show you which questions were missed the most, which students struggled the most, all those data points that would help you redirect your teaching or maybe come up with some intervention reteaching lessons. So I really think that this is better, and this is the one that I use when I actually want to get a snapshot of what my students know, because like I said, Kahoot's just a little more competitive and they get excited. So in a minute you're going to see here, this is the page the students see when they're done. They can see their results right away. And one feature that I absolutely love is there is a button that says review flashcards. So it will actually go over the questions they got wrong, and it will give them flashcards. So remediation right on the spot. Now, here is the results page. You can see that circle just shows overall what the score was. So since I took it, it's 92% accurate. Then you can see by question. So if more students had taken it, you would see a better graphic of, what percentage of students got each question right or wrong. And then here, this is my favorite graphic. You can see an overall snapshot of which questions need remediation. The last online assessment tool I want to talk about today is Pearson EasyBridge. And this is part of our math curriculum and part of our textbook. So, unfortunately, this is something that everyone may not have, but my district does have it, and it's something I use often. So, it goes right along with the Common Core and with the exact math lessons we're teaching. But it has an entire online textbook, online tools, online games. They can watch videos to relearn the information. And it also has online version of the test. So what I love is that all of my students are already in the system, and I can assign the test. But the great part is that Pearson will automatically assign RTI lessons and remediation lessons to anyone who scores below a 70%. And I can always change the number, but I just love the fact that if there's not that level of mastery, which is a huge framework that teachers go by, it will automatically give them tools to reteach them and help them get where they need to be. So this is something I do use a lot in math, and I think it's a great way to assess and review the data because they actually help you do it. So I hope you enjoyed learning about three of my favorite online tools. Obviously, there are way more tools out there, and even I hope to learn about more of them in the future.